Good afternoon, Facebook. It is Natalie Cousins, and I hope that you guys are having an awesome and amazing Monday. This is definitely a great start to the week. I am so excited to speak to this dynamic couple that I'm going to be bringing on in a few minutes. The topic today is delayed and not denied, and delayed but not denied. And I have the pleasure today of speaking with a couple that I admire so much, Dexter and Tonya Scott. They are speakers, they are entrepreneurs, they're trainers, they are founders of the UpGraders, which is a strong and powerful movement happening right now. And so if you don't know them, you're going to get to know them. Good morning, Alita. Good morning, Karen. And so while we wait for them to join, I definitely wanted to bring this dynamic couple to you guys today. It just warms my heart. And I met them back in 2014 in Atlanta, Georgia. But primarily, I wanted you guys to hear from them because when I came back to Toronto, the energy was just... I felt like as if I was in a time capsule. I felt like nothing had really necessarily changed. I felt like everybody was still in the same spot. And I realized that, a lot of people had given up on their fight for what they wanted out of life, their fight for where they were going and what it was that they wanted to do. And in my opinion, I felt like they had just given up. Okay. And so I felt like a shift definitely needed to take place. I felt as if too many of us were not fighting for our success, and so many of us were broken, so many of us were bitter, so many of us were beaten, we became stuck in our situations, and a lot of us here have fear and procrastination. And so we are going on. Dexter and Tonya have spent many years motivating and inspiring audiences to get them out of their way and out of their comfort zones. And, out of being stuck in the place where they are in their lives right now. And so I just had to speak with them. They are a prime example for myself of how you can work together as a couple, being strong, being together and supporting one another. I also found that a lot of relationships end up in divorce because one spouse is not definitely supporting the other. And I can talk about the trials and tribulations that I have had in my relationship, but in the 20 years that we have been together, it's been the grace of God why we've mended and stayed together. So good morning, Tonya. Good morning, Dexter. How are you guys?
Good morning.
Doing great.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So the topic today is success is not denied. And you guys are a perfect example of that. So let's just get started and let's tell everybody who you guys are. First of all, welcome, and thank you so much for coming on and talking to me this morning. It's an absolute pleasure.
Well, it's an honor for us to be here with you on this morning as well, this afternoon. For those of us here on the East Coast, we just thank you. And it's exciting. It's exciting to be here with you, Miss Natalie.
Wonderful. So let's start because I have so much that I want to ask, but I just definitely, for those of you who don't know them, they are in North Carolina. Is that where you guys are this morning? Wonderful. So let's tell everybody a little bit about you guys, what you do.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again, Natalie, for having us. And thank you all that are watching. Tonya and I, we are affectionately known as the UpGraders. Tonya and I have been in business together. We've been married. Actually, we celebrated 17 years on this past Saturday. So we're really excited about that. 17 years and still climbing. But our business is the UpGraders. Tonya and I have been working together for a long time. And we've just found that as a married couple and just as people who have similar interests, it works so well when we're able to connect with people. But we're the proud parents of 4 children. We have just a vast age difference in our children, 2 older, 2 younger, and we're just excited. I mean, we love people, Natalie, and I know a lot of people that watch us know that, but most of you guys that don't know us, we just love people, and we like to communicate from a place of a heart standpoint, but also just from a place of communicating value to people, which is one of the slogans of the UpGraders, which is we may not know you, but we know what's in you. We like to pull that out.
Correct. And so let's talk about how you got started in the industry prior to the UpGraders. Let's just give them a little snippet of where you guys are from and how you guys started this dynamic movement.
Wow. Well, I'll take them all the way back to December 2013. Is that
Sounds
good? Yeah. So here we are, December 2013. I was working for a company that was founded by President Eisenhower. So I was doing a great deal of traveling, and my brother and sister-in-law, Greg and Lanika Scott, they gave us a call and said, hey, there's a company, it's new to the U.S. We're looking to build it. Do you guys want to be involved? And we said, absolutely. So Tonya signed up. I was on the road somewhere. I don't even know where I was at the time. But we signed up in the company, and we just decided not to do anything at all. And for 5 months, nothing happened until a Friday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I got a phone call from my boss. The headquarters was in Spokane, Washington. So he gave me a call all the way over here on the East Coast and said, Dexter, your job is gone.
Wow.
We're eliminating that position. And, you know, that hurt. But what was even more painful is that Tonya and I were leaving for Italy 2 days after that call came in.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to make a decision. Now the job is gone, six-figure income gone. What do we do now? Do we go to Italy? Do we cancel? So what I did is I called over to the apartment that we rented in Italy. I asked the question. I said, listen, I just lost my job. What would happen if we canceled our vacation? And they said, Dexter, you're going to lose 75% of your money.
Wow.
So we went to Italy. We had a great time. But as a father, a husband, in the back of my mind, behind those smiles, I was really hurting because I needed to know what am I going to do to take care of my family? So that's how we got started. We got back to the U.S. We hit the ground running. Tonya started working the business. I was still looking for jobs. As a matter of fact, I applied for over 100 positions and only got one call back, an interview, and I was denied the job. So that's kind of how we were just pushed into this industry. But we found out that it's a great thing because it helped us to tap into who we are.
Yes.
Yes. Amen. And so how did you know once, because we know about the products, we're gonna talk about that, but how did you guys know that this was definitely your calling with the UpGraders? I always say, whenever I talk about you, I always say that Dexter's voice is so captivating. It commands attention, at least in my eyes and when I explain it to people. But a lot of people don't know you guys. And Tonya, when you stand on stage, it's like almost when you're playing a lullaby for a baby to sort of soothe them. It's like you soothe the soul. And so let's talk about how you guys knew that this was definitely your calling.
Wow. As far as it pertains to the UpGraders?
Yes.
Wow. Well, that's something, because even Dexter and I, we talk about that, and we've been talking about that even recently. And I know a big thing for us is people. And we really recognize, and it's something, it's amazing because what you have to do is really come into agreement with what it is that you're feeling on the inside. Mm-hmm. And so and sometimes we doubt it and we question it so much, but if it's happening and it feels right, you just have to come into agreement. And so that's what we ended up doing. How did we know that we were the UpGraders? It's because as we found ourselves interacting with others, we knew that people was a stimulator for us. We wanted to be with people. We wanted to even be in front of people. And see, I say that because that's what I mean when I say you got to come into agreement with it. You know, here we are with you right now, you know, doing the live, but to be with people and just it's an energy that we draw from them. There's a desire that we have to see people elevated. It's nothing like standing in front of a group and you see in their face, in the eyes, an aha moment. Yes. You see something where they're like, oh my God, even for tears to fall, something's connected. That's amazing. And we're really grateful for that. And we want to be able to continue to do that in the lives of people. So we knew, this is something, we need to continue with this. And oftentimes people don't realize that, you know, the very giftings that we have inside, all you have to do is kind of really, I want to say for most people, is open your mouth. Because when you begin to talk about something, you in your own, listening to yourself, you're going to begin to sing yourself your own lullaby. Yeah. You're going to begin to sing to yourself and realize that this is something with this. But we don't always have the answers as to what to do with it. And that's okay. But as long as you know it's something, it gives you something to work toward. And that's how we got started.
Wonderful. And in 2014 in Smyrna, Georgia, that's where we were, and you stood on stage. And one of the things that I took away from you was standing in your purpose. You talked about that. You talked also about staying true to your faith. And I know that you guys had to juggle many hats. Like you said, the ages of your children. I love your oldest daughter. Love her work, her photography, things like that. And then you guys have 3 other children, so it's 4 in total. So let's talk about how you juggled starting the business and being with a family, and any tips that you can give anyone that's having a struggle in that area today.
Yeah, I'll say we made them, good question, Natalie. We made them a part of the business.
Wonderful.
Literally. And what we did is we didn't want to neglect them. So when we got on the road to travel, they were in the backseat with us. I mean, they were just with us, at great troopers to be able to travel with us and to really stay engaged. And we would just always take notice of when we were too busy in business and not spending enough time with them. So it is a juggling act. I mean, when Tonya and I do Facebook Lives at night, it's time for the kids to go to bed. So let's just say we are doing a 8:30 a call with our team, or even a Facebook Live. I'm known to kind of exit out of the picture, and because I'm upstairs putting them in the bed, and I'm like, okay, guys, we're doing a live. Don't come back downstairs. All kinds of things. Even last week, we were doing a live, and our son woke up out of his sleep, came downstairs with a t-shirt and underwear on. So Tonya had to exit to go and grab him at the staircase before he got into the view. So it was hilarious, but they appreciate how we include them in the business, and they can even talk about it. They can talk about the business because they are around it so much. It's a balance.
And that's very good. I think that's very important. As we are growing, we are setting foundations for our children. I'm a mother of 2 myself, and I also travel with them. They go everywhere with me. I'll drive from Toronto to Atlanta, and they're ready with their iPads. They know what's happening with, we'll say, total life changes. They know about it. And at the end of the day, I think that one of the best things that resonates is showing a couple where the husband and the wife work together, and there's no old philosophy of who has to be the head of the household. I talk continuously about it. I'm the chef in the house. My husband does the dishes. If I'm busy on Friday, he knows to start the load of laundry. And I think that those are the things that resonate and bring us together as couples. And I think that a lot of the times in this industry, you guys, Dexter and Tonya, are the perfect example of how you come together. And it's no, what's the word that we want to say? There's no battling or boxing for who is the head of the household. They have come together to make this work. And so I watched a documentary online about you guys. And I think that, Tonya, what resonated with me, and I'm just going to quote something here where you said something, and these exact words resonated with me. And I think that for those of you who have not seen the documentary, one, you need to go on YouTube and look them up. We'll post the link. But her exact words were this: I want you to think about those who tried to bury you. They didn't know that you were a seed. They may have buried you. They may have said some things. They may have done some things to you. But the deeper that they put you in the ground, the more God waters you with the truth of who you are. I want you to know what's getting ready to grow and come out of that is nothing short of beautiful and magnificent. And then, Dexter, you ended that documentary by saying, we are the UpGraders, adding value in every area of your life. We may not know you, but what's in you, that's who you are, and that's what I am. I found that very, very, very captivating, because a lot of haters is what we will say, because at the time, sometimes we don't necessarily notice who they are. They are not realizing that we're actually seeds and we're in the ground being planted. And the more abuse, whether it be verbal or physical, eats away at our brain, and we allow that to manifest negative space. And last week, as I was watching this on Saturday, I was amazed, because the week before, I did a post on planting seeds in your business and just overall talking about, you might not see what the outcome is. I talked about looking through the binoculars and it was dark and you cannot necessarily see the light. And then this just gave a whole new meaning to the seeds that are being planted. So let's talk about the UpGraders program. Let's talk about what it's doing for people. And I know that you guys also have an event coming up on the 28th of April, which can be, this event can necessarily be in any city, but let's talk about the one that's taking place next weekend.
Okay.
Awesome. I love everything that I just heard you say. It's just blessed me even the more. I think a lot of times, and it made me think about this, I think a lot of times people think about when you look at people and you see what they're doing and the success that they're having, and sometimes you think, I'm not ready for that yet until I get through this that I'm going through myself. Not realizing that a part of your deliverance, and much of your deliverance, much of you elevating in life and the things that you desire to do, it doesn't happen when something's over. It's happening as you're going through it. Yeah. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of people miss. You could hear from Dexter Scott. You could hear from Tonya Scott. You could hear from, Natalie Cousins, and you're looking at the things that they're doing, and you're thinking, oh, if I could only get to that, not realizing that every single day there are different things that we have to go through. There are seeds that's being planted. There are things I'm being watered, but even the fertilizer. And when I think of the fertilizer, I think of the stinky stuff. So it might be somebody that's hating. It might be someone that's not doing, well by you. And it doesn't feel good. It doesn't smell good. But yes, there is God, and you're getting planted deeper so that you can actually grow and blossom and bloom. And just to hear you say that, it's like it's such a beautiful thing. But now to Conversation Camp. See, those are the types of things that we talk about. The event that we're actually having this weekend on Saturday, the 28th, is called Conversation Camp. And when we first launched it, I tell you, after it was over, we received so many messages where people were asking for, can you do one for couples? We're talking about, we're going to do one mother and daughter. You mentioned our oldest daughter. Yes. She and I, we're going to come together and actually do one for mommy and daughters. Okay. So this particular camp is amazing. It's very intimate. We come together, typically between 20 to 25 women are registered, and we have speakers to actually come in, and we share the stories. There's activities. It's very personable. So for me to stand before you, but I could share a piece of myself. It could be my life that I'm talking to you about. But a big thing for Tonya is identity. I'm one that have come to really realize oftentimes people don't advance in the direction in which they are called to because you don't know who you are. Okay. And it happens for I could go deep right now. That's why my mind is going. I'm like, let me just stay right here. But honestly, you have to understand and know who you are in order for you to really blossom and bloom. And oftentimes that our identity is what's attacked. We hear often about the enemy, and we know he comes to do what? Steal, kill, and destroy. What does he want? He wants you. He wants your destiny. He wants your purpose. So there are things that happen in our lives that keeps us from actually moving forward. And that's what Conversation Camp does. We get to talk. We get to sit, we hear, to just visualize someone standing before you, but there could be an activity. Sometimes there's song. We've seen even dance that's taken place. We've seen where, I remember opening up one time and we gave everyone poster board. And we just asked the question, give us your life. Show us whatever you want to show. Just write out your own timeline. And you could start at birth if you want to start in elementary school, but give us the ups and downs. And the music was just playing in the background, and our sisters sat there and they just began to scribe. And it was such a beautiful time. And there was so much emotion that was going on. There were tears, there were it was just so much quiet. It was the thinking. And then whoever wanted to share, they would come up, and in between time, they would share. So now they're sharing the timeline. But what that did, it caused a lot of healing to take place. There was some brokenness there were things that people actually admitted, confessed. There were things that people were saying. There was one person I remember even talking about, I completely forgot about this. This isn't something I was thinking about, but I could tell it was still in my subconscious mind. And when they began to talk about it, it brought forth so much healing. So in every camp, there's something that takes place. And I simply have identified it as shift, SHIFT. There's sharing, there's healing, There's identity that's found. There's a focus. We give you what to focus on and what not to focus on. And the T, thoughts are things, thoughts, your mindset. So shifting takes place in every single camp that we actually have. And it comes forth with different ideas, you know, the conversations, the talking, very intimate. And I love it. It's absolutely amazing. I cannot wait for Saturday.
Yes, and we've definitely got to bring you to Toronto. I'm
Ready.
Figuring it out, and we will definitely be talking, because I'm telling you, I started this off by saying that when I first came back to Toronto, there was a lot of brokenness, a lot of bitterness, a lot of self-beating up. You know, some of us are already allowing abusive relationships, but we are ourselves, we're self-sabotagers. We beat ourselves up. It creates a lot of things. And I said, we definitely need a shift. So it was like I left here, came back, and it was either the only thing that had really changed was the real estate market, in my opinion. I felt like a lot of people were still stuck, and I definitely wanted to bring you guys on here so the world, or the people in my circle, are able to see that we haven't even touched on your guys' past, where you guys have been, where you were delayed but not denied in terms of your success. We talked about, you know, we're all just numbers in any company that we go and work for. That's just the reality of it. I always say, just like we have a social insurance, or in the US they call it social security number, that is our number in the job, right? And the song says, when the roll is called up yonder. And in a job, it can be called at any given time. And so I love the fact that while your mind, Dexter, was not all there in the trip, I think if I took from that story, you had to remain focused, because you weren't sure when you were going to get another vacation. You knew that you were there with them. You enjoyed the moment. But you guys came back, and you guys hit the ground running, and you guys were able to be successful. If you want to touch a little bit on your journey after that vacation to now, just before the UpGraders, let's talk about total life changes and what that has done for you guys.
Yeah, it is totally transformed who we are. And while you and Tonya was just talking, you know, the subconscious mind is 30,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind. Mm-hmm. So when Tonya's talking about the conversation camp, there's an upgrade that takes place. There's that shift. We turn the corner in what people are thinking, and we shift them into another direction. And as you talk about the people in Canada, that's exactly what we do. That we know that's what we're called to do. Mm-hmm. So when that call came, the job was gone, I had to really fight with my subconscious programming, which is what we all have to do, because it is just consistently trying to override what it is that we make the conscious decision to do. So during that process, ebbs and flows, I'm like, man, I just got to keep focused. I got to stay focused. And when we talk about just being a couple in the business, see, Tonya started out working Total Life Changes without me. Mm-hmm. I wasn't there. As a matter of fact, the first conference that we went to, Tonya's name was the only name in the business.
Yeah.
And see, this is important for people to know. Tonya's name was the only name in the business. When they called her name to come up on stage, I think it was a check. To get the check, I sat down in the audience. And I looked at that and I said, you know, my attempts to try to get a job, they've just failed. It's time for me to go in and help my wife. So then I came alongside her, and I saw where Tonya needed me to step up and step in and to do things, just like conversation camp. Yes. It's an intimate environment. I hop in to make sure the caterer brings the food in, set everything up, and I'm out, because I want that time to be for the attendees that come. But I step in and I help. So that's for the husbands that are watching. You know, if you're trying to figure out where you fit in, find out where your wife is, and then find out where she needs your help. Yeah. And that's what I did. I stepped in. So it's just been a constant grind to make sure that we are in alignment with what we've been called to.
Yes.
And that's very important. And one of the things that I was thinking about while you guys were talking is I'm a former real estate appraiser. Mm-hmm. And the guy who taught us, he said something that has still set with me to this day. He said, you've got to know why the right answer is the right answer. Mm-hmm. But as equally as important, you've got to know why the wrong answer is the wrong answer. Yeah. So that's how we approach everything. And we continue to grow and elevate together as a couple. And it's, you know, success is subjective, you know. It's subjective. It's whatever the person needs in their life to help them get to the next level. That is what they need. So we just, and that's the authenticity that we speak from. We're not telling everybody you got to be like us, or you got to hit this or do that. No, that's falsehood. Yes. We want to give people truth. Yeah. So
that's being true to yourself, you know, and just valuing who you are. It's a post this morning, and I simply said, "You matter." 2 words, but a really big comment. You matter. And I meant it. Dexter, it took me a while to post that, didn't it?
It did.
It took me about an hour to make that post. But I'm going to tell you, the reason why is because when I say something, I mean it. You know, if I comment, I mean it. I share, I mean it. And it takes time. And I tell people often, when you talk about being true to yourself, my thing is, in anything that we do for us, I'm like, it's ministry. And ministry is time. And if you don't have time for people, if you don't have time to make sure that everything is okay, I mean, let's break it down. Let's talk about a Walmart. Let's talk about a Target. They still have to take time to make sure that things are done for those that they're serving. If things are done any old kind of way, we won't go there. No. It's the same thing. You know, we're looking for things to be stopped. We're looking for things to be in order. You don't need to walk down aisle 3 and find Pampers, but go down aisle 11 and they're there as well. And that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So anytime, anything that we do, who we are is a reflection of our Creator.
Yes.
Being his example, being made in his image, it's responsibility. So we all have to really take the time to really understand what it is that you're called to do. It's really not about you at all. It's about making connections that keep the world going round. I mean, he's highly intelligent. We're being created in order to be in this world and to actually advance his kingdom in the earth. And that takes responsibility. But we come together and play our part. I oftentimes see it and think about it. I say it's a puzzle. Can you imagine having a puzzle and you've got this, let's just say 500-piece puzzle, and you're putting it together, and then you get to the end and you got 3 pieces, just 3 pieces missing. But when you look at it, it's like, where's that piece?
Where does it go?
What is this? You know, and that's us. We're a part of this big world, but everybody has a part to play, and you matter.
Right. Yeah. And I'll piggyback off of that. My mom's a twin. So I always know with twins, they might be identical, but there's something different about each of them. And as you get to know them, you'll be able to instantaneously know the difference between the two. And I say that to say that the world, there's enough of us to go around. Everyone's called for their greater purpose. We just need to remove that blockage from us as an individual to be able to set forth for what we are called to do. And so I think that the Conversations Camp will look at, announce other dates. I'll post how they can get in touch with you guys. If you guys want to have the Conversation Camp in your city, there is a booking email address that we will also send. In closing, I wanted to know, overall, you guys just celebrated 17 years, but just on a grand scheme of things, any last words or in closing that you want to give, any words of advice for those who might be struggling in a situation where there's no spouse support, or any lessons that you've learned over the years of how to ground each other?
Yeah, so there's a quote that I absolutely love. It's Henry David Thoreau. It says, when you advance confidently in the direction of your dream and you endeavor to live the life that you have imagined, you will meet with a success that is unexpected in common hours. And the reason I put that quote out there is when you advance confidently in the direction of your dream. And in that advancement, in that confident advancement, there's so many things that take place in that. And we found, which we talk a lot about, is mindset, but also how essential failure is to your journey. Because here in the U.S., our education system didn't teach us that failing was okay. You were either A, B, C, D, or E student. So I was the C student. I don't mind saying that, right? But I was a C student. So when I get my report card and I see a C, I immediately look at my failures as a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But see, when you look at Colonel Sanders traveling around the U.S. selling chicken at 4 cents per piece, sleeping in his car, was that failure? See, we got to shift the perspective on what failure actually is. Yeah. So if I had to leave a word of advice to everyone and those that you want to get your spouse involved and you're trying to figure it out, keep going, keep moving forward, make sure you have the right mindset. And see, one of the things that we do in just being a part of the UpGraders is act, assess, create, and take action.
Yes.
So we teach people how to assess the current situation. Where are you now? What are you thinking? We walk them through an assessment to make sure that they identify where they are.
Yes.
Then we create the right mindset. We take them into the theater of their mind. We have them create the reality that they want to see. And then that T is take action, right? It's just time to take massive action in the direction that you want to go. So those are kind of the things that we want to talk about. Now, I know that in our industry and in our business, we see a lot of like wives doing the business and not the husbands. You don't see a lot of husbands doing it without the wives. But I've gotten a lot of questions about, Dexter, how do you do it? How do you help support your wife? And I just say, listen, and as I mentioned before, find out what she needs. Find out what she needs. And if it's vice versa, find out what he needs. And you be that piece, as Tonya mentioned, to fit into the puzzle. And once you fit into that puzzle, now things can begin to progress. Will there be ups and downs? Absolutely.
Yes.
And a lot of people have seen Tonya and I on stage, and it's quite interesting. It's funny. But before Tonya and I hit a stage, you best believe behind the stage, we're back there talking things out, because Tonya is more of extemporaneous. You could put Tonya on a stage in Canada right now in front of 5,000 people, and she will give it her all. She will just turn it out. It will be so amazing. But if you asked her 5 minutes before you gave her the mic, what are you going to talk about? She couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you.
She couldn't tell you. And see, I'm a little opposite. I like to have a framework of where I'm working from. So it's just the dynamic, but just keep your faith, hold tight to what it is that you want to see your spouse involved with you. And it's going to work. It absolutely is. Yeah, it absolutely is.
I think this was definitely absolutely. I call my stuff sips in conversation. I've got my tea here. This was absolutely great. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. You guys, I will post the contact information for you to be able to book Dexter and Tonya. Again, their event, for those of you that are in the North Carolina area, is this Saturday, April the 28th. It's an all-day event. I'll post the link for that as well. And you guys, once again, it is a blessing to be able to speak with you guys. I thank you for carving out time out of your busy schedule, and you guys have an awesome and amazing day.
Thank you so much, Natalie. We appreciate it. Thank you all for watching also.
Yes.
Thanks for watching.
Yes.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.